Killer asteroid lays waste to New York City in the simulation drill that they had a few days ago. We've been struck many times. This is in Manicouagan, Quebec, Canada. And this upcoming one, the dinosaur killer asteroid in the Yucatan Peninsula. And the Earth is riddled with evidence everywhere, from Canada all the way down to Australia, everywhere. The North African continent. We've been struck so many times. And this is something that even in today's age with our modern technology, we will not be able to stop. And this has been proven yet again in the latest simulation drill that they had, taking part where NASA, European Space Agency, and other agencies worldwide, plus officials. This takes place every 2 years. And the initial scenario was that an asteroid was coming towards us and that it would be hitting Denver. What happened during the simulation was that they tried to mitigate it by blasting it somehow, and it broke up into pieces, and one piece of the asteroid was not stopped, and it impacted New York City. So we still have problems that have to be worked out, and it's a plan to protect Earth, of course, from all this. It's just a matter of time before this happens, because they cannot find all asteroids that are out there. Let's remember what happened with Chelyabinsk, the meteor that came from behind the sun. No one knew it was coming. A lot of these asteroids are found a day or two before, or even a few years before. And it's not possible to find all of them. Now, scientists and emergency management convened in Washington for the 2019 Planetary Defense Conference, participating in the biannual asteroid impact exercise every 2 years, as we said, because it wanted to test humanity's response to such a possible impact event. This is on Sputnik News. Now, despite the simulation, 8 years of preparing, scientists and engineers participated in the latest exercise, tried, but it was a failure. They could not deflect the killer asteroid as it left New York in ruins, because the goal, of course, is to keep it away from impacting Earth. Now, the long role-playing game, it was a week long, puts the participants in situations requiring them to coordinate their actions if it is determined that the asteroid impact is coming. Now, during the exercise, participants only receive daily updates on the changing conditions of the events, and they're expected to raise to the challenge of reacting to these updates, coordinating international response to the impact event to save humanity. The exercise is prepared and run by NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office and the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. It's a means of exploring possible countermeasures to safeguard against the asteroid hitting Earth. Should a killer asteroid hit Earth, what would our response be to protect Earth from this? Now, although entirely fictional, the drill adheres as closely as possible to what would actually be taking place if such a threat did face humanity. The scenario begins with astronomers establishing that a specific unknown near-Earth asteroid has a 1% chance of hitting Earth during its closest approach, and 1% chance of impact is the agreed trigger point when the international community would definitely need to launch a coordinated real-life response to the threat. Therefore, humanity has 8 years to prepare, but little is initially known of the asteroid other than its orbit, the speed, that it's roughly 100 to 300 meters long. It's about 1,000 feet, just like the Apophis asteroid is, about 1,000 feet long. Actually, a lot of this was very similar to the Apophis asteroid that will be nearing Earth in exactly 10 years. Because they had the criteria was that it would be in April, it would be hitting in April of 2027, and that it would be about up to 1,000 feet long, which is just about the timing and the size of the Apophis coming in. That's coming in Friday, April 13, 2029, 10 years later, 10 years from today. Now, and besides that, after that, in 2035, we have Bennu coming in at us as well. Now, the damage that could have been caused by the impact of this asteroid of such a size is more or less known, since other impacts occurred. For example, the Russian Chelyabinsk meteor, the impact in 2013 actually wasn't an impact, that blew up in the air for some reason, and the suspected meteor responsible for the Tunguska event in 1908. Initially they thought it was an air blast, but they found a lake somewhere around there. They believe that it did impact the Earth. Now this we're talking about the Tunguska event of 1908. Now this exercise here provides context for scientists and emergency managers. Participants needed to consider feasible options for deflecting the asteroid. And that means that included space missions to be launched to deflect the asteroid with any plan that they could develop. NASA made the results of previous exercises available on their website, with the entire conference live streamed on the European Space Agency's Facebook page and live tweeted as well. In the latest edition of the simulation, impactors were built and the right launch window was determined. 3 impactors managed to hit the killer asteroid and the main body was deflected. But there was a small fragment that broke off and it continued onto its deadly path towards the eastern United States. This is all according to the simulation. Although Washington considered sending a nuclear bomb to deflect the 60-meter rock in a repeat of last year's successful tactic that saved Tokyo, not last year's, but the last exercise, which was 2 years before, that saved Tokyo in the simulation game, political disagreements ruined the day, and New York was devastated by the impact this time here. Paul Chodas, the NASA engineer who is the game's designer, told AFP that the fictional killer asteroid is, of course, highly unlikely, quote-unquote. He added that, nonetheless, they wanted the relevant issues to be exposed and discussed. Now, astronomers at the conference took the chance to defend the NEOCAM space telescope project, which would help scientists better identify asteroids and react earlier to threats, and Chodas hinted at the possibility that it will be Europe's turn in the line of fire for the next simulation exercise hosted by Vienna in 2021, in 2 years. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.